right, dude, here we go, man.
Let's do it. Let's rock.
We got Vasilis here, right? Is that how you say your name? Vasilis?
Vasilis, yeah.
Vasilis.
Yeah.
Is that right?
A lot of people in the office get it wrong.
Say it again.
Vasilis.
Vasilis. Okay, where's that from?
It's a Greek name. My father's from Greece. He's from a little village called Domokos. And my mom's Scottish, so I don't know, they ended up over here.
Vasilis. Yeah, that's an interesting name. Wait, did you grow up in Greece?
No, I grew up in Pullman, Washington. I'm the only one in my family that was born in America.
Oh, wow. Oh, dude, You're lucky, man. Immigration and stuff is...
Oh, I know. It's crazy.
From that... I know, like, maybe that's not the right thing to say right now.
Yeah, right. It's kind of a little tricksy. Yeah. No, I mean, for now, it's great. Like, I mean, not to go totally into that, but so many of my friends from the grad program were having such a hard time having to get lawyers and prove that they're, contributing culturally. Like, what didn't even matter that they were getting the degree there, but it was more important that they were, famous.
Do you
artists.
know if they so they were all trying for the O1 then? It's called the O. It's called the O. Yeah. So that's what I'm on. This is I want to say my second O1 visa. So that's basically what it is. It's like they want to know why you should be here, basically. Like, right. Like, what have you done to prove yourself to be a part of the U.S.?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember, like, when I first went through that process, it was scary. It was like, you do your grad program and you're, like, ready to go into the workforce, and then, like, a couple of months later, you're like, oh, yeah, you have to get on a visa to actually do all this. And I remember I was dating a girl at the time, and I was like, hey, I might have to leave the country.
By the way.
It's a little scary, man.
Dude, I'm sure. That's so rough. And I mean, like, especially with, like, foreign parents, I get how it is. Like, they were getting naturalized when I was in 5th grade. And I was studying the same things that they were, like, about colonial American history. And so they were taking their little test. And I'd be like, John Wilkes Booth. So it's really...
Oh, there's citizenship test. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's it's a crazy ordeal. But I'm actually working on getting my EU citizenship right now.
EU citizenship?
Yeah, because I'm eligible for the Greek citizenship. So in that process, just in case. But
just back up. You know what? Maybe that's why I'm so relaxed, because if everything falls apart here, let's go back to India then.
Yeah, totally. That's, I mean, it's good to have a backup plan.
I guess so.
When was the last time you were there?
Oh, I haven't visited in a while. It must have been 2018, 2019. It's been a while.
Okay. Yeah,
I was gonna go like right before I joined Criterion. But I didn't have there was a couple of things happening in terms of work, and I didn't have enough money to fly back. So I knew Trevor and Lee were going to India, so I had them visit my parents and just like
by proxy.
Proxy.
yeah, proxy visit. That's really cool. That's great that they got to hang out with them too. Did they happen to visit that studio you helped build?
They what?
Did they get a chance to visit the studio that you were working on over there?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think Trevor had asked about it, but I don't think they did. Oh, that would have been cool. Okay. I should have asked them to do that. I
mean, they go back often enough, so... Well, they did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, everything's so different right now.
I know.
Like, you can't even say that. Like, they did. Yeah. Anyway.
Right.
So you grew up here, right?
Yeah. And I grew up in a small town called Pullman, Washington. Nice. Go Greyhounds. It's a small university town. And
nice. What was music like growing up?
Oh, essentially non-existent.
Really?
There was like a couple bands older than us, and basically like I did jazz choir when I was in elementary school, and then one day my friend Joel Scavdall is like, hey, do you want to be in a band? And I was like, okay. And then he's like, do you want to be a singer? And I'm like, sure. And then we started a garage band called Dunce, And it was like did a bunch of Rage Against the Machine covers, things like that.
What was that kind of music you were into, like the Rage and the Systems of a Downs? And,
new metal, new metal in 1998. That's where it was.
Wow,
just loved Korn, all the Ross Robinson shit.
Yeah.
Good times. Yeah, but no, otherwise like it was basically us like making our own scene. There was not a really close. The closest city is Spokane, Washington, and there was some stuff going on there, but we just like completely missed it. And so we just kind of did it ourselves forever. And I got into guitar when I was 14, but I was just kind of only obsessed with pedals for the most part. And I got one of those Dan Electro Innuendos that had the built-in effects. Because I heard Tom Morello had the built-in effects.
Isn't that what we do? We just we just like copy our idols.
Yeah, for sure. Do you play guitar too?
I do. I play like
okay.
I don't play guitar like Trevor plays guitar. Like I play like just enough to like write what I'm feeling, basically.
For sure. Yeah, that's cool. That's the same. I mean, Trevor's like a guitar jock for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows the stuff. Seeing him wail on like, what was it? I think it was like Billy Idol or something. I don't know. Just
wow.
Lee's thing. It's like crazy.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those. Like didn't he do like jazz guitar for a while? So he's like deep. He's deep in that world of like learning how to listen to stuff, analyzing chords, and his fingers are like they're like spiders. They just like crawl over the fretboard.
That's a super metal image. That's great. Damn, I saw you guys play. Did you know that?
This is the Gold Sounds one.
Right. Yeah. In Bushwick. I think we talked about that.
Bushwick. Yeah. I think when I came for the Criterion interview, you had mentioned it, and I was like, "Oh, thanks."
Yeah.
That was cool. A wild, yeah. This was a wild time in general for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just so much going on, and like, but it was good. It felt good to play with that band. That show. If that was the first show that we had that packed a house. Like we have.
Oh, cool.
We never played. Well, there might have been one time where we played that packed when we had a EP release in like 2015. But it was. I was so surprised that like, oh, wow, it's like a lot of people in here. It's cool. It was pretty much wall to wall, and like.
Yeah.
I think it was also because Angel Vivaldi fans were there too, so they kind of took up some of the space. Yeah. He was headlining, so. Yeah, dude. It was a dope show.
That was cool. Sure. When was your guys' last show?
Maybe a couple of months after that.
Oh, okay.
And then we're in total EP2 world right now, just trying to write and record and shit.
That's cool.
So growing up in it's good. It's good. So you grew up in with a scene that wasn't that vibrant, so you kind of had to make your own thing go.
Yeah, our friends. It was really like. Really special. Like we all were really into like weirdo noise music from like Rhode Island, Providence, like bands from a group called like Fort Thunder was this house where bands like Lightning Bolt came from. Wow. And you ever listen to them? They're like bass drums, super gnarly, really cool. And then like a bunch of other noise bands and like kind of like thrash punk, like The Locust and like. Yeah, on the spazzy side, basically. And so, like, we started, my friend Joel and I were in bands called Towers of Teeth. Nice. Mucus Pucus was a big one after.
Love it.
Yeah, really, like, came from the tradition of, like, noise and experimental stuff. And
when was this?
So like that would be, 2005-ish was, like, Towers of Teeth, Mucus Pucus. And I was playing drums in Mucus Pucus. And...
what all instruments do you play?
I mean, I suck at a lot of instruments. I am like very.
I think we relate now.
For sure. I mean, I really admire people that just like Trevor's style, just like fixating on guitar and being, ground up. But I just like, I don't know, maybe it's an attention span thing, but I just like love the variety. Sounds and I love dabbling.
Yeah. That's probably why you're into synthesizers, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
You can see the thing.
Damn, you got a whole rig.
Yeah, that's the wall. I built this little synth wall when I made this studio.
Jesus, man.
But,
What do you?
Yeah. Oh, I wish I could pull this out. Well, I kind of can. That's blurry. So let's see. Modular. I just got this new Erica Synths bass line. Wait. Here. Fuck.
Nice.
And then this is a Ensoniq Fismo, which was like their flagship wavetable synthesizer. Yeah. It's called Transwaves. And I really like collecting 90s like trance synthesizers because I just think they sound really great. Really like Terminator 2 pads.
Yeah.
Like the JP8080, and I love like drum and bass pads. And then we got some Electron stuff, the Rhythm and the Analog 4 Mark II. This is a Yamaha TG33, which is like a vector synthesizer. You can have like 4 patches, and then you use this little thing to like fade in between them. And then we got a Prophet 12 and a Prophet Rev 2.
Wow, which, dude, you went all out.
Yeah, this is my studio mates' Prophets. They're cool. They're really awesome. Our boss Ryan also has a Rev 2, and he's just like amazing with it. And but it's not something that's totally captured me yet. So really? I need to give it a little more
It's
time.
something that I started to get an itch for. So like I teach a little at SAE, and I had to teach Ableton and about a bit of synthesizer stuff. And then as I was reading it, I was like, oh wow, this is actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I started playing around with like little digital synthesizers. I'm like, oh wow,
cool.
The amount of versatility and flexibility in the sounds that you can create is pretty unreal.
Yeah, definitely. What's your opinion on synthesizers in metal?
Oh,
this is something I think about.
It.
You're for it?
Dude, I think you can mix any instrument in any like I am like break all boundaries, do whatever you need to do. And, like,
that's cool.
There's this Taiwanese metal band, and I can't believe I'm not remembering their name, but they had incorporated this old, ancient, classical Chinese instrument. Okay. I'm not even remembering the name, but like it was like they played the main melody over like these heavy guitars, and I was wow, what the hell?
That's cool, and it worked. It sounds rad.
It was dope, and I gotta find out. I'll send it to you when I find it. But
cool. Yeah, I'd love
one
to
of my
that.
friends introduced me to it, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. That's totally awesome. For it. Totally for it.
I think I was anti for a long, even though I love the Locust, which is like all synth garbage. It's amazing, but not so much metal, but I thought the worlds shouldn't collide. And my current thing is like maybe the synth just needs to be more of like bedrock textural stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
I think that's what we do in our band. We have the guitar stuff playing the primary lines, and then Trevor will accent them with these just basic sine wave based synthesizers, so they'll just play the line just underneath it. It does add like that kind of lower mid percussive nature to it, so it's pretty cool.
Totally, with like textural arps and stuff.
Okay,
right on. Yeah, it's just so crazy how quickly it can like overpower, like make a guitar sound dinky, even if it was like really big before.
I think it's that right blend of things that you really have to strive for. Like when you nail it, it's not even like the synths that we use, like they're not even there. Like you wouldn't even know. Like you wouldn't even know if I didn't tell you that there was a synth line there.
I think that's the way to go, though. I think that makes it cooler, because you're like, what the fuck? Like, how do you? I don't know.
It's like the wildest guitar tone ever, and it's like, no, it's actually a guitar and a synth underneath.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
Well, it's out there now.
Yeah. Now they know.
Oh, geez. So wait, you were doing 2005, a bunch of band stuff. You said you were getting into drums?
Yeah, I was playing drums at the time, just like kind of getting into it. I was just trying to fake my way through like double bass drum because I just thought it was awesome. And, we recorded a little bit, but we always I think I still have some nasty habits from my like noise days going into production, because like I just like love kind of chaos. I love like high energy music, and and it's definitely like followed since. But yeah, going like my first foray into electronic music was I was making tracks with like one of those like Yamaha keyboards going into pedals and using the drum pads and making these like kind of like ambient textural things.
Yeah.
But then when I think a big thing in music history should be when everybody got those like power books or those like white iMacs in 2000, I don't know, 8 or 7 or something, maybe earlier. And then the GarageBand, you know, came out, and like, I mean, Justice recorded that album Cross on GarageBand. Grimes did Oblivion on GarageBand. And like, yeah, getting GarageBand was like the first time I ever messed with like MIDI, you know?
Yeah.
And I did this thing where I made this project. I used the like male to female vocal effect and recorded myself. And I was like leaving messages on my friend's phone being like, hey, this is Miranda. Yeah, I got really like drunk at your party and broke all your shit. And like, it was like just this alter ego. And one night when I was like supposed to be studying for this psychology final, I stayed up all night and made a Miranda album.
Oh, wow.
And it was all like just tranced out, just me, my interpretation of like kind of like ecstasy rave kids in the 90s, and but like using her voice and just using all these like big like GarageBand preset pads and stuff. And then I like didn't tell anyone for like, some people didn't know like till a year later that she wasn't a real person. And we're like, oh yeah, Miranda, that was me. So that's what got me into electronic music, essentially.
And probably what got you into like production in general, I guess.
It was pretty cool being able to make a whole album in a night.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just so quick and fun and immediate.
The technology made everything so accessible. You're right. Like in terms of like stuff that they should talk about in electronic history and stuff. Yeah. Like people with access to GarageBand probably made a lot of music. That creativity had to come out at some point.
For sure. People use Garage. I mean, I think people still do. Like it was like a decade's worth of musicians, like that's how they would track. I think Ableton effectively cut that out, even more so than Logic maybe. But
I think so too. Yeah, Ableton was really like a step in. It's like it's not formatted like a traditional DAW, which is what really got a lot of songwriters and DJs really interested in it. It's not like it's not like a DAW for an engineer. It's a DAW for like a writer. It's really interesting.
And the whole jamming element is just obviously massive.
Yeah. I can't remember who invented Ableton, but I think it was like 2 DJs or something.
Oh, really? Well, didn't one of them go on to make Bitwig?
I think you're right.
I think it was one of the original co-creators switched to Bitwig. Right. Have you ever used Bitwig?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm curious.
It seems cool. I think you can like automate or put like LFOs and different like control parameters on everything really fluidly. So I think it's like a big instrument. Somehow more so than Ableton.
I remember Fruity Loops was actually the first DAW that I used.
Dude, I'm so jealous. I never got into Fruity Loops, but everybody used it. Everyone that does production started out with Fruity Loops.
It's confusing.
Is it
confusing? Yeah, I mean, first of all, I had no idea what I was doing. Well, if I was to go before that, Windows actually had like a little recorder where you could hit the record button and you could record 10 seconds and then you could hit it again and like append another 10 seconds. And, I used to play with all that stuff. And but yeah, Fruity Loops was the first official DAW that I used, and it's just confusing. I didn't what like I don't get it. And I tried a couple of things. There's like very easy ways to make beats and patterns because it's a very simplified version of like drawing out MIDI, but eventually I just switched over to Cubase, and I used to like follow this.
Cool.
I just shadowed this engineer who produced like this really cool band in India called Mother Jane. So I just like go to his studio and say, hey, how do you create a track? Like how do you record here?
When was that?
This must have been like 2000.
How do you do this?
Dude, literally. I had like a cover-ish band, and we recorded like a small EP with him, but he was also recording like this huge band called Mother Jane, who I like love.
What kind of music are they?
So it's interesting. It's basically prog rock, but what's really fascinating is that they've incorporated this unbelievable amount of Indian ethnic Carnatic music. It's really fascinating.
That sounds awesome.
So I even talked to I did a podcast with the founder of the band, and I was asking him like, so did you like how did you even invent this kind of music? It was really revolutionary over there. They're like huge over there.
Yeah.
So I was like, how did you come up with that? And he was like, we just like rock, and we're surrounded by Indian culture all the time. It just happens. Like you don't think about it just put
whatever
together comes
all their
in the
influences.
music. Yeah, It was really fascinating. Nice. This must have been 2006 when I started playing around with Cubase. That was the one I switched to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was Cubase is good though. I don't know if
I've never used Cubase either. Like a lot of like British garage artists I listen to or whatever, we're all Cubase people, and
it's essentially Pro Tools.
Really?
Kind of, sort of.
What is the draw to it? It has like really good native effects. Is that the thing?
Man, I used it at a point where I knew nothing, so I have no clue.
Okay.
I don't I was just so amazed that if I hit this button, it would record this microphone. Like,
right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I was like,
that's the magic, baby.
I don't have to just do this on my phone now. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, for sure. Man.
So wait, so you got into GarageBand? Is that what led to getting into?
Yeah, GarageBand was. I was just recording a bunch of like. What kind of stuff? It's almost like Sigaros. Like I was really into Icelandic music at the time, so I was using a lot of like toy instruments and keyboards through pedals, and then just like being into the pedals. I think my first synthesizer was the Alesis Micron.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure, which everyone had either the Micron or the Microkorg. And it was like a kind of like a kid, like, oh, you a Microkorg kid? Or are you more minimal or more punk? And I don't know. In retrospect, maybe the Microkorg was the way. That's a pretty dope synth. But yeah, and then I started I moved on to Reason, I think after GarageBand, and I was making like, I don't know, so 2008, 9, I think I was making like dubstep, and that was pretty fun. And then moved to Ableton. My first Ableton project was helping score my friend's like 16mm film. And,
oh wow!
And yeah, it was like not great, but it was fun. And it was really funny switching from Reason to Ableton, because I think that's when I sort of like. And this may not be true, but I was like really like, yeah, your environment super dictates the kind of music you make, because in Reason you have like access to like, I think it's called Thor is their giant synth, and then like all these like vintage compressor emulations that you have no idea how to use when you're starting out. You're just blasting all of it, and like re-drum, and then Ableton is like, it sounded just like way thinner, way more minimal and crisp to me, just like as an amateur user. That's just, I think, like what. Like maybe the sounds you have access to with like not a complete knowledge of the system. So, and so, yeah, that was like around, I don't know, I've been using Ableton for like over a decade. And like, I love it. It's so great. I got re-inspired recently to like make a track with like all free software and all Ableton. And it came from my friend Kiri, who's I co-run this little place with. She took that Andrew Huang class. You know that YouTube guy? He's like a synth reviewer, like
it
production.
Sounds so familiar.
He's a funny dude. Yeah, he makes like these really good tutorials, like reviewing like modular and like Weird Gear is one of his series. That's pretty cool. And he did this online class, and yeah, she took it, and then she's like, you should try it. And so it was like very back to basics, but I was like, I'm just gonna do this anyway. And it was so much fun going from like all the like woes and I don't know, contemplations of hardware recording and all that, to just like going back to like using all the native Ableton software, and I was like really happy with the track that came out. Ended up putting it on a mix, and so I just like think Ableton's really, really cool.
Yeah, but what is it? So what is it about Ableton? Is it the ease with writing? That's what you love about it the most?
I do like the way they like, I don't know, there's the modularity of it that's really cool. Like I did this tutorial recently that used a lot of the MIDI effects to make like breakcore, like drum and bass, and it was like things I never even like thought about, and it kind of made me like be like, yeah, you know, like I guess more. I mean, I think it was built with Max MSP, right? So
yeah, I think so.
Like you can use like velocity. It's their like MIDI effect that's like, I'm gonna sound stupid when I explain this, but it's like their like velocity sensor with a random effect, and so it jumps velocities, and then I had the velocities like tied into the sampler, and so like a different drum break was happening at different velocities, and so it was just jumping around, and then you can just like stack those on those and those, and then you create this like whole system of like generating automatic drum and bass, basically.
Interesting.
And yeah, there's this, you can get really deep, and it's like stuff, you know, you can kind of do with a modular synth for like $1 billion, but it's like pretty cool that, you know, it's like just a really good way to kind of get that going.
Yeah, there's definitely a workflow to it that's geared way more towards like the people who are into songwriting and modular synth. Yeah, basically it is like it feels like one big modular synth in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really, it is pretty intuitive. When I did start using it, I first experienced Ableton when I was doing recording at this radio station. I was just doing podcasts. And I was like, well, wait, why are we using Ableton? And it's so silly. The reason they were using Ableton was because Pro Tools had not incorporated their offline bounce. And there was no way we were gonna offline or online bounce an entire hours of a podcast. So they're like, we're just gonna get Ableton. I was like, wow.
I mean, not to like dog on them that hard, Avid, but like, I can't believe that was a selling point. Ableton kind of did that too recently with like 10, and they're like, now we have Zoom. Or now we have like, you hold command and use the mouse wheel, so you can zoom, like zoom all over. Or whatever.
Like, really, guys?
Yeah. It's like, oh, like, damn.
This should have been like a given from the get-go.
Right, like why was that missing? But yeah, offline bounce was just such a hilarious sell, where it's like Pro Tools, what, 11?
I think it was 11. I think you're right.
No one thought of that. I didn't even know that was like a thing. Like, offline bounce. I didn't know that. Or online bounce. I didn't even know that was a thing until I started using it. And I'm like, why would you? Why would you wait? But whatever. That's cool. They came around, you know. It's all good now.
Oh my God. That's when you think about it now, it's like, that's kind of ridiculous. It's like, why would you want to sit through the whole thing?
Right.
Especially if it's all digital and you can just write it. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. They got their shit together. They figured it out.
It's all good now.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about it in that context though. Like, that was like their big selling point going to 11. It's like, we had like, okay, they had 64-bit or whatever, but nobody really, it didn't have that emotional attachment to it.
No. That's purely intellectual. That's very just like, now I have double the bits. Like, okay. Cool. I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, we're music tech. We should probably be more excited about that, but I don't know.
But that offline bounce, everybody fell in love with that.
Yeah, dude, that was badass.
I guess. Good move, guys. Good marketing move. Yeah.
It's funny though, because like you saying the radio station using Ableton, like I'm always like kind of surprised when. Like I was applying for music jobs originally being like, I know Ableton, and then like no response, but but yeah, like my friend works for this gaming company, and their composers use all Ableton to like organize their sound design and everything, and I thought that was like really interesting.
That makes sense to me though.
Really?
That totally feels like an Ableton thing, because I have a friend who does sound design as well, or a drummer. Heavily into sound design now. Cool. I gotta ask him if he uses Ableton, but when you said it, for some reason that totally made sense to me. Like, why not? You know, Ableton is perfect for that.
It definitely, as a production like front end, is that what you'd say? Or like the starting point, that does make sense. But I guess like I don't know if they have like a good system for like takes, you know. And the way they were like organizing it was like track, and like and it just seemed like an editing flow that would be more suited to something like Pro Tools. But
interesting. I don't have too much experience in sound design, so I'm not sure how. I don't even know how like people do that. But yeah, that's interesting. I gotta ask him. I think he's a Reason guy or an Ableton guy, but I gotta ask him.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah.
That's great. Reason's dope, dude. I miss Reason.
I've never used it. Ever.
It's so weird. It's a plugin now, I think.
Oh, is that the rewire thing they do through Pro Tools?
I think they basically put like the whole system in a plugin. So yeah, you can like use it in Pro Tools. I haven't looked into it, but I feel like I saw flashes.
There was a point in time where like you could use a plugin called Rewire to connect Pro Tools and
yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah. That was the thing. Yeah. But now I think it's like just put it in, drop it in the.
Wait, didn't Ableton start as a plugin?
Oh, I don't know. Did it?
Maybe I'm completely making this up, but I feel like Ableton didn't start as a DAW. It started as either a standalone software or a plugin. I read it somewhere, although it might have been from Wikipedia, so I don't know how accurate that is.
Oh, Wikipedia is accurate. People always giving Wikipedia a hard time. The army of nerds making sure that's accurate.
I have a feeling Ableton. I'm gonna look it up, but I think Ableton started as a plugin, and eventually they just broke off and did their own thing.
It was like just like a clip player plugin or something like that.
I think so, or like some sort of like I think maybe like the idea of racks and all was kind of incorporated in the plugin. I gotta look into it, but. That kind of brings up the whole. I don't know if you've tried Luna by Universal Audio.
No, I've been interested because we don't have a mixer here, and like I really want one, but Luna seemed like a good, direction for like summing and. But it's expensive. Or it's free, but
it's free, right?
Stuff.
Oh, yeah. Essentially, it's expensive.
Right. Yeah. Have you used it?
I haven't used it, and which is ridiculous because I have a lot of not a lot. I have the Apollo 8P, so I could potentially just use it. I have a friend of mine who used it, and he said that he enjoyed certain aspects of it. Like some of the shortcuts are exactly like Pro Tools. Like you wouldn't even feel the difference.
Oh, cool.
The thing about the summing, which was interesting, and I guess this is going to be very dependent on the kind of music you're into, but he was saying that recording it, super smooth, no latency, he really enjoyed it, which is a huge plus.
Yeah.
But when it came to mixing, he just felt like the reason he wanted to go into it was they have this whole Neve summing algorithm. And he said that while he was mixing, it just started to sound way too Neve-y.
Oh,
like super. Well, what does a Neve sound like? That kind of lower mid warmth or whatever you want to call it. So he said he would have preferred like if they had SSL emulations so that he could track through Neve emulations and then mix through SSL emulations.
To have it just be more clean and. Like
SSL is usually a lot more transparent, and they're pretty flattering on like the transients and the high end and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe if they do an SSL emulation, maybe they already have an SSL emulation.
Yeah.
But they
have their pre's and
they do,
and their bus compressor.
I think they do. I think you're right.
Yeah. Right.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So the impression I got was it's pretty smooth, but he also said he's probably not going to. He's like so used to Pro Tools right now. He's not really sweating it too much. The biggest thing about the UA stuff that I encountered, because that's what we use in that studio in India, was they have their own GUI and then you have Pro Tools behind it. So in order to go in between direct monitoring and then listening to Pro Tools, you have to keep flipping the screens back and forth, which is a little annoying, especially if you're doing drums and you have like 8 instruments to like unmute.
On console. And yeah, dude, I got that problem here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we got like a UA system, and like our second screen is usually occupied by console, so I can just be like up, down, up, down. But I find that annoying. Yeah, I'm back and forth on it. Sometimes I'm just like, all about the workflow and think it's really great. And I love being able to just like print in like with a lot of their effects.
That's amazing, by the way.
It's really cool, and just not using any DSP later for mixing.
Yeah.
But then like things just go wrong, and it's just like I don't know. My studio mates Apollo 8 like just it's some software issue, and we're back and forth with them for like over a month. And
really?
And
like what's the issue?
It just won't recognize the plugins a lot of the time, and it just would spiral out, give us an error, and we just like reset it, and every time you reset it you have to unplug everything, and yeah, it happened around the same time Luna and their new update came out, and so I think there's something with the Mac OS, and we're just in the process of like getting it squared away. But the X8, the one which is my one, and I love it, and it's never had problems, and I really don't think I'd want to use anything else because I love the UA plugins.
Yeah, like the UA plugins are dope. They're so good. They're super. Yeah, I was so surprised when I started using them as to like the level of quality that they had, and I understood why they were so expensive.
Right.
But that the tracking into Pro Tools with the compression and EQ on is like a game changer for me.
Yeah, it's so good.
This is all I want. This is great.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just
and you can have your own reverbs. You can create your own sends and reverbs, and like you don't have to worry about. It's perfect. I think.
Do you have a lot of like hardware pre's or anything?
I don't. I own no hardware pre's or compressors. I've thought about it, and then I thought about, well, I could just go to Engine Room and use.
Oh yeah, totally. How's it going over there? Are they doing sessions and?
They are slowly but surely. I was just there yesterday, actually.
Oh, word. Okay.
Yeah. So I've been doing like a lot of online teaching, just like basic tutorials on how to work Pro Tools and stuff. So I was talking to the owner, and he was saying like how it's pretty rough in terms of business, and nobody's really excited about coming in, and especially like they're primarily hip hop studios. So
cool.
Yeah, hip hop. Usually they do it in groups of like 50 people, and like they're not very excited about doing those kinds of sessions.
Giant mess. Fill out the studio.
So but also the artists are also very conscientious now, and they're like, we don't know if we're ready to be in that kind of environment. But they this week they just opened up very, very minimally. I think it's like 3 days a week, and they're they like every like top of the day and after every session they do like a heavy clean down, like sanitizing and all that stuff, which is great.
Is there a conversation out there about the dangers of sanitizing equipment and like using like rubbing alcohol and Lysol on like vintage gear?
Ooh, I don't know.
Because that stresses me out. Like, because we had these like Clorox wipes, and like when everyone was really worried about COVID to the point where it's like, don't touch anything. I mean, that's still kind of the case, but like putting like a Clorox wipe on some of my synths, I was like, this is a terrible idea. Like, it's gonna like bleach out the. I mean, I just am worried about it being corrosive. Even like getting the like paint off of the labels was like, being in a heavy studio like that where you have people usually smoking weed and drinking and spilling shit all over it. I don't think they're too worried about a little alcohol. Totally. That's true. Okay, man.
Dude, I remember. Oh my god, I remember once we had to basically take the SSL apart. Just to like check some of the channels. The knobs were getting really like scratchy because there was like dirt accumulation and stuff. And we tried the what's it called? Pressured air. What's that thing? Compressed air stuff. Right. We tried all that. We tried some sort of very safe lubricant or something, but nothing seemed to do it. So we're like, you know what, dude? Let's just like take the channels out and like let's look at these like.
Oh man.
The amount of like particles of weed that we were able to collect, like you could literally roll a whole new blunt if you wanted to.
Did you?
It was a lot. Oh no, we did.
I mean,
that would have been ridiculous.
Like 5 years of sessions or more.
Dude, was not pretty, insane. Dude. Wow. Yeah, literally like a whole like pile.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
wow,
it's
cool.
I can't. I have no, and they're still running Pro Tools 10 as well, which is very strange. I'm not sure why they do that.
Is that because of the switch from what is it to AAX?
Yeah, because they would have lost all their plugins. Yeah, they would. I think like they would have to spend like another $6,000 to $10,000 just to make up everything with the hardware.
Yeah,
that was a. I guess. That's why they really needed to sell that offline bounce thing. They're like, hey, by the way, your plugins aren't going to work.
Trust me, you're going to save 3 minutes, man. It's going to be awesome. But no, like I remember my friend Andy Peter like said. Or it was when I first started buying more hardware when I moved to New York, and he's like, he was really anti-software or kind of anti-software at the time, and he's like, yeah, I just hate the idea of like spending that much money on something that will, you lose it essentially in like maybe a decade or less because it'll either be updated or you have to pay for an update. And he just hated the idea of like spending money on. I don't want to speak for him, but. What he said at the time was that spending money on software is just like a little more intangible, and I thought he had a point, and I really like kind of set me on the road for it's like if I'm spending money on gear, I feel like I should be able to like have it forever,
Yeah. There is a good point in that because, I mean, I don't know how these software companies work, but the reason why they're so cheap is because they're probably really raking in the money and like they will be able to. It's probably a simple update that some guy can like add 2 lines of code and it's like update it and now we'll charge another $50.
I know.
So hey, I mean that's their, I guess that's their thing. But that is a good point. Like you might as well just get like one solid piece of gear, which is probably going to sound better. And the amount of maintenance that you probably have to do. I don't know. Would it be comparable? Like because you probably have to still like clean it. Maybe replace components. Like, would it eventually just even out? I don't know. That's an interesting point, though.
And there's the argument of like the footprint that making a production line of like gear that like potentially is indistinguishable from software is, something to think about these days, I guess. But yeah, there was a big switch. I guess that's what the modular community kind of came out of when there's all these like documentaries online of people saying how they sold all of their gear in the mid 2000s to buy like a Kima system or to do all software, and they'd be like, oh, it just feels like I'm doing spreadsheets. And they even when Roland made their like boutique line, it was even in the promo ad. They're like, why would I want to make music with the same computer I watch porn on? Like, that's ridiculous. And then like, but yeah, the move back to hardware was a really interesting thing because I feel like a lot of artists were like rediscovering just like playing. And then I think that like led to a lot of really like jammy techno and like cool new like experimentalism. And
it's like mid 2000s?
Probably like end of 2000, end of the knots into the or for me, I got more into hardware I think 2013 on, and then this is all my little perception, but I feel like now there's like a balance of like everyone's like we'll just kind of do everything, like like maybe like I like doing software for like mixing. I would do hardware if I could, but like UA like really is awesome, and then like to just like capture sounds, like you can just get such wild things that you can't access with software. Modular.
I think that's the route a lot of people or my circles are very small, so I shouldn't maybe speak for that, but it's a lot of tracking through solid hardware and then mixing on software like UA stuff.
Yeah, just because it's so fun. And I feel like that's the
point. That is that's the point. Exactly.
Right? Like what are we doing here?
Yeah, totally, dude. I know, I agree with that. I can't remember, somebody said something about like it being fun and that's the point. It eludes me. But wait, so when did you join NYU then?
That was 2013. I was reapplying. Okay. Yeah, it was. I was doing a lot of like DJ stuff in Seattle and throwing nights with this record label Hush Hush. I used to like kick it with. They're really great. Like Night Bus was the vibe at the time. Really inspired by the artist Burial, and they had such awesome artists. This guy Alex DJ AO and Kid Simple's another one. Just really like, really low key, like a different take on ambient with like more beats elements. But so we'd do these like nights and play shows and DJ all over Seattle, and it was really fun. But I was like having zero luck getting audio work there, and like I don't know, doing the like freelance like party scene like is basically a hobby ultimately, or it was at the time. I just couldn't really like get money, so I was reapplying to my job at this organic deli, PCC, and that's when I saw I got like into the NYU music tech program in the interview. And so I was just like, oh, I'm good. I'm moving to New York. Like, thanks.
Wow.
Anyway. It was so
interesting.
It was nice. And then I moved to New York, I think a couple months later, and started up in the fall at UTech. And it was nuts. It was like a really wild transition. Seattle is like a beautiful scene, really cool city. It was like really hard to get ahead for me at the time, but people are doing it. And but yeah, what about you? When did you?
I joined I think I joined a year before you. You said fall of 2013?
Yeah, that's when I started.
I think I joined fall of 2012.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. Nice. Wow.
And you moved from India to go, or you lived in the States already? That's right. Cool, man.
Yeah, wow. I moved from India. I was actually originally going to join SAE. But yeah, like my parents were like, no, you got to get a proper degree. That's some diploma stuff. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. Like,
I got a lot of that.
Oh, really?
yeah, big time, dude. Big time. Come on. Funny. Those foreign parents do not.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do not ease up. Yeah.
And like, I just needed to like get in somewhere. So I was like, okay, whatever. Fine, I'll do a master's degree, which... Right. Oh, I still have like, I know we've talked about it and stuff, but like I have mixed feelings about it because like I truly believe that like 75 to 90% of the stuff that I learned was like just being in the shit, like just interning at studios and like having to haul your equipment to this place in, I don't know where's that place called? It's far, and go record somebody and then come all the way back, and then I learned a lot from doing that. And interning, again, I can't stress how good interning at a studio was. So then
I really wish I got to do that. That sounds
you didn't?
Great.
That's interesting.
No, I worked as a tech at NYU, but this obviously
the Clive Davis program.
Well, I did Clive, and that was honestly like just as substantial as a lot of my degree, like just because they give you time. Like I record bands in the studio, whatever, 510, and like use their SSL, and then they had a newer Neve on 21st Street, in their little studio there, the satellite studio.
Right. I only went to the 21st Street one like one time, and that was just to pick up something for Noah, I think.
Oh, Noah!
Yeah.
I love Noah.
Noah and Michael McCoy.
Wow. Yeah. Very cool. Wow.
Yeah, there were a lot of times where I really enjoyed Clive Davis. Like, you're right. Too. I mean, it was just signing gear out and stuff, but every now and then, like, a student would need help, and it kind of allowed me to flex my knowledge of how to work certain things. And I think at some point there was even, like, a session I got to assist on with Nick Sansano.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that place. I actually had wanted to work there for the longest time after, well, mainly because I was so broke. I needed somewhere to work. So I was just like, real. Hey, Noah, so any jobs at all? Anything?
Nothing again?
Like,
Okay, I'll try next semester.
Yeah, I'd like go, and I was like super cool with the security guard at the on the ground floor. So even after I graduated, I'd be like, "Hey, what's up, man? Do you think I could just go see Noah?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead."
Oh, that's great. They didn't let me in to Mutech. I tried to go back and say what's up, and then they were like, "Nah, you got a card?" And I'm like, "No." Like, no.
You mean the Steinhardt building or the Clive?
Yeah, Steinhardt.
So that's interesting. When I went back, because the only person I'm still in touch with from as a teacher is Tom Byer, and so I was passing by that area, and I was like, "Oh, let me just stop and say hey to Tom." Yeah. And I still had my NYU ID. I think this was like 2 years after I graduated, or 3 years. And so I walk up to the security guy, and I say like, "Hey, I used to be a student here. Is Tom Byer around? I'd love to just say hey." Yeah. And he was like, "Oh, you were a student here?" And I said, "Yeah, look, here's my ID." And he's like, "You shouldn't really have that." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Exactly.
And then he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to take that." I'm like,
"No."
I'm like, "Okay." So I just
gave it to him.
Yeah.
Oh, drag.
And then I never got it back.
Oh, that's horrible. Damn it! What is the deal? Yeah, I mean, I guess they're looking out like good, better than theft.
I think some people might be. I mean, definitely not going to mention any names, but I've heard stories of people still using their IDs to get into the library and to get into like those practice spaces. So I understand where they were going with it, but it was totally not my intention, NYU. I just really just wanted to see Tom Byer.
Yeah, totally. It was the same thing. I was just like, what? Dude, do you, like, I spent a good amount of money to get into this building. So, like, what?
At least let me keep the card.
I know. Yeah, totally.
That's like a piece of memorabilia or something.
Yeah, no, not anymore.
Oh, they
Apparently
let you
you're
back
a criminal.
in. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, I tried, and they called up, and they were just like, "That's the door." I'm like, okay, fuck.
Did you ever get to mess around with the synths on, I think, the 8th floor?
Yeah, Studio B.
Oh, you did?
I was before I was PAing at Clive, I was doing the tech thing, and it was the best. Like, we'd go in and just like have to try everything. So we just use the Buchla, jam it to the modem, and like the synthy was so cool. But I didn't know how good it was back then. Like, I knew it was awesome and I loved it, and it was like crazy they were even letting me fix Buchla modules, and I was like, okay, I've used the soldering iron like 3 times. And I was like fixing the fucking sequencers. I hope they're still doing good. But it was my favorite thing, was like testing everything in that room. And like I would go in and record samples from that broken ARP 2600, and because it still made just like ungodly noise. It was so cool. Pro Tools wasn't working for like 2 years in that room or something like that. So they had everyone recording on the DAT, which was weird. I think it was like a year that people were using the DAT, which, I mean, okay, that's cool. It's still like same concepts, but I was just like, why isn't it?
Yeah. See, that's interesting you say that, because like I had not even the slightest inclination to get into synthesizers, and yet I was at a school that had some amazing piece of, like, kind of like what you said, like I didn't know the extent of like what was right in front of me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I mean, like, it was kind of like playing with the Buchla. I'm like, oh, awesome, this is what awesome synthesizers sound like. And then I would like try, modular's great, but I would do that, and then I would like try all this other stuff, and I'd be like, oh, this isn't nearly as good as the fucking Buchla. And sorry, I swear a lot. So then if I got the chance to come back to it, it would just blow my mind. And so it's sort of like the context of it. Like, my biggest regret for gear acquisition is I used to have a Juno 60.
Wow.
And I got it for like, what, $900 in Jersey. And it like some New York problem. I thought, man, I can't believe I'm even telling the story. I just thought like it was like taking up too much space. And I was annoyed it didn't have MIDI, even though like you can figure it out. DIN, do lots of things of DIN sync, but I just like wasn't giving it the treatment it deserved, and I ended up selling it for.
Oh no.
Yeah, and now I'm just like, what? Like I just am so pissed I did that, and I ended up getting this thing, the Abyss by Dreadbox. They're a Greek company, and so I was just like naturally inclined. And it's like such a good polysynth. It's super weird, and like I've not really seen a lot of people with it, and so I feel like I'm down, but like it's a fucking Juno. And all these people were like, "Oh, why are you selling that?" I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of big,
dude. That New York space is like a real thing. So when I was the manager at the studio called Engine Room Audio, and I was basically the assistant to the owner, and part of the job entails that you also, help him out. I just helped him out with whatever, right? And I remember we were at this place on, I want to say 23rd Street, and he needed some help with like fixing an AC, and I was like, I need money, okay. So we come out, and it's like, this is like a nice building, like 23rd Street.
Yeah.
It's expensive. So we're walking out, and out of the corner of his eye, he sees a Fender Bassman on the street, and the garbage man about to literally throw it into the truck. And he's like, hold on, guys, hold on. Do you mind if we take this like back to the studio? It's like, yeah, sure. Somebody just threw it out. And like we looked at it, and it looked fine. And like, okay, we looked at the back. Okay, maybe there's like a wire dangling, but that's an easy fix. So we're like, okay, well, let's just take it back to the studio. And I can't believe somebody it's a really good Fender Bassman amp. And like, I can't believe people just like threw it out. It was just like, whatever. It's like too much space.
Was it Ryan that found the Rhodes? I think he did. It? I think he found like a Rhodes on the street. I might be mixing this up. I know maybe Noah found a Rhodes too. Maybe this happens all the time. But and then someone, I think the landlord was like, oh yeah, that's some kind of piano. Like, you can take it if you want. All right. But that does happen. Like, I found this like solid state Fender amp, just like one of those like kind of shabby like $300-$400 ones on the street the other day, and like I didn't think it was working, but it worked when I plugged it in, which and then it makes this like super chopped up crazy sound, and I ended up like using it on a song recently just to like make feedback and put it through that, and then like use it as like a kind of bass texture. And
it's interesting, right? Like what some people like, I assume somebody just threw that out because it's like, oh, this is not working anymore,
or they thought it didn't work. Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. But it's usually like a wire away from being like a decent usable thing.
But even the fact that like that's probably the sound you wanted, so it's like different people have different perceptions on art and stuff. It's
yeah. See, it's convenient being into noise music because you can get a bunch of broken shit and be like, oh, it's my flavor. Like, this is what I'm into.
I still don't get like how you're so into noise and yet you're an audio engineer. That's weird. How do you resolve those two things?
I'm just like not that good of an engineer. I mean, that's the thing. I think it's actually like a problem. Like I just have a really high capacity for like harshness, and I mean, it sort of like lends itself to a lot of things. But like, no, I also like really love like high production electronic music. Like I feel like I just came from this tradition of like experimentalism that was happening in the early 2000s in the East Coast, and I just like adore that stuff. I thought it was like just really like, you don't see a lot of the influence. It's still there, but you don't see a lot of the influence nowadays. But like there's this band called Black Dice that just like changed my mind, like, or changed my life, and I was so obsessed with them. And then like I came to New York, and I go by this bar, Happy Fun Hideaway, in my neighborhood, and Eric Copeland was like working there, and I was just like, shut the fuck. I'm like, what are you doing here? And then they were like playing, and like they're just as good as ever, and I'm like, this is so crazy. I guess I'm kind of like deflecting from the question, but I just think that there's so much to like having your own sound and just like exploring non-traditional methods like maybe at the expense of like missing the point with certain processes. But I just think it's like really good to like stretch yourself and like focus on expression, you know? Like,
do you think because you're so attuned to noise that you're able to maybe catch it better?
That's a really good question, because I mean that's like all we do. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, not all we do, but yeah, no, I mean, like, I think that you sort of like give it credit being like, well, I guess in our job I really loved like the like, oh, this is like optical clicks, like this is from an optical track, or like this is tape hiss mixed with like certain times of dropouts. And I think like the acknowledgement of the medium is what makes like working at Criterion as an audio person so interesting.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for those watching who don't know or listening, we work at a company called the Criterion Collection, where we basically do film restoration and some new pieces as well, but primarily film restoration, if I'm not mistaken. I just joined, so
killing it.
Thanks. No, because this is something like I was curious because I like one of the bands that like you just talked about. What was the name? Black what?
Black Dice.
Black Dice, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the bands that is probably the reason that I'm here is his band Metallica. Don't know if you've heard of them, but you know.
Yeah, maybe it's been suggested. I was just listening to what's the song? And nothing else matters. What is that? What's that song called again?
Nothing Else Matters.
Nothing Else Matters. There you go. Yeah, I heard it on that 89.5 Jersey metal station. Best fucking. It's so fun. I just love it. I couldn't believe it. Like straight up, hearing like Seven Dust on the radio was like, whoa, what year is this? Wow. This is nuts. But yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So like they were huge. Like I remember the moment I heard a riff called Master from a song called Master of Puppets. And I was on a tour bus doing like a choir tour from school, and I remember the exact moment. I remember how much it changed. Like the world just like shifted, man. It was a surreal experience for sure.
It is the best.
But the more I got into them, like I really got into like their philosophy on music, blah blah blah. And they're very much like they try to stay as organic as possible. Like like Lars is like, sorry Lars, I mean, you know, he changed my life and all, but you're definitely not the best drummer, right? Technically. So,
his snare sounds baffle me. Like Saint Anger, it's like, whoa.
Talk about noise.
I know, right? Yeah, like a part of me is like, oh cool, but I'm like, whoa, dude, it's like steel drum.
The funny thing is, that was the first song that got me into Metallica. As
That's
crazy as that is, like I had never heard of Metallica or anything. I was just like this teenager looking for more angsty music.
We're the same age, right?
I'm 30. I just turned 30.
Oh, 30. Okay, yeah. So you were probably like 12 when that came out, something like that.
Yes. Around 12. But it wasn't even when it came out. It's like it was a promo for like a WWE pay-per-view match. Yeah. It's like Saint Anger. So I was like, what is this? Cool. What is this noise? This barrage of just noise and weird snare and like, oh my god, I must know what this is. Yeah, and then my friends were like, bro, that's not Metallica, bro. This is Metallica. Yeah. Like Master of Puppets in your face.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they say that they weren't allowed to have any soloing on that record?
It was. So from the documentary, there was a point where they were about to. Oh, it's a very interesting.
I heard it's like
so weird how it changes over time. It's very awkward and very uncomfortable.
No,
which
they said
is kind
it's
of
like
the point, I guess.
What's the movie that we put out? The mockumentary, Rob Reiner. Why am I forgetting this?
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Starts with an S. So, it's just like spotlighted on my mind. This is insane. Oh no. Why did I do this?
That's okay. But either way, it's an uncomfortable documentary. There was a point where like they were about to lay a solo down, and then they have like this whole conference meeting about, well, should we do solos? And like obviously Kirk was pissed at the whole thing. I don't know what they were going for. I think they were going for like
Spinal Tap.
The one thing that I do like about Metallica, which I think has been kind of incorporated into how I write art, is like like they don't care. Like they do it purely for themselves, and they're like,
yeah,
you don't like our snare? Oh fuck you. We're still doing it. Like,
yeah, right. I mean, like, they made Lulu, right? Like I didn't listen to that, but that shit's nutty, isn't it? I heard like a little bit.
That's the one album where I was like, okay, guys, I really can't follow you here. Like,
yeah.
Go do your thing. I'm glad you did it. And you
I'll be here when you get back.
Yeah. I'm gonna wait right here for the next Metallica album. Thank you. It was
Lou Reed, right? Lou Reed. It was like one of the later Lou Reed projects.
It was. Like I literally couldn't get into it. It was just like, what is this? Like, what's going on right now? And I bought it. That's the weird thing. I bought it, and I was like, "It's Metallica for life. I'm just gonna buy it." And then I put it on. I was like, "Huh?
Oh no!
Like what?
Drag.
Like way more than Saint Anger, and like none of those things bothered me. But like this was just really out there."
How many records did they have between that one and Saint Anger? Were they like putting out material?
After Saint Anger, they actually returned form and did like a really solid thrash album called
That's cool.
Death Magnetic. I would consider it like one of their best albums.
Oh, cool.
Just from a songwriting point, it's really the whole thing's clipping. The entire thing is just that was like at the peak of the loudness wars, and it was just like everything is clipping, but the songs they really stand. Like I was really impressed.
That's cool.
And so anyway, the reason why like I really like Metallica is like they have a very organic nature to them. There's like a very famous, or not famous, but there's a clip of Lars in the studio. He records drum parts, and then the producer is like, "Okay, yeah, we just got to shift the snare here. We got to," and he's like, "Okay, what the fuck? You're beating the whole life out of this thing. It's like why are we doing this? This is who I am, and like and." They definitely take it to an extreme, but I respect the idea. Like, yeah, hold on. Like, do we want to like grid everything and make it sound like somebody programmed these drums?
Yeah.
Or the way I like to approach records is you want to get it tight enough in between the individual musicians, but you don't want to kill the life out of it and make it sound like,
Yeah.
And I definitely have been very self-critical about myself in that regard. It's like, man, I've never made like a proper, well-produced, like pristine record, and I wonder if it's my desire for that organic, just like raw, out of time thing.
Totally, I'm right there with you. I really like. There's a point where you get everything on the grid, and you're just like what? Like the vibe is gone. You don't even know why. But I mean, well, so you recorded or you mixed the first EP with your band. And you're in the middle of the second one. But like I've only like mixed a few bands. Like mostly I've done electronic, and I want to do like more bands. But like, what do you mean you haven't done a full pristine one or full pristine?
I feel
record?
like every time I approach a record, my goal is to like push the musician as far as he can go to get the cleanest take, but not get so anal in the editing process to the point where like it sounds just lifeless. I think there are good musicians, and you can play well if you just push yourself a little bit. It's totally possible, but it doesn't have to be on the grid. Right. I feel myself like I do like some beat detective at times, and I do shift things around, but I've kind of trained myself to, once I reach a point, I can like step back and be like, okay, whoa, hold on. Yeah. We're kind of treading into like MIDI quantizing territory, and like we don't. Yeah. This is a rock at the end of the day. We do want to keep it natural and kind of. I like that push and pull of like, whoa, where's it going? It's like, Yeah. I'm not explaining this very well, but I think...
No, totally. I think it makes sense.
I think like when I listen to like what's like a pristine recording,
like Meshuggah or something.
Well, they're insane musicians. Yeah, like I'll say that if the musicians are at that level and they are super tight, hey, that's what it is. As long as you're representing your band in the best way, I like that. But if you're a mediocre band and you literally swap everything with full-on samples and then grid everything. I don't know. It kills a lot of the personality.
Is there a lot of like drum replacement with like drum triggers in metal? Like I'm sure, yeah, right. So they're just basically like taking out takes and
either replacing or blending. I'm totally fine with that. Like I think whatever gets you the product you want, you should go for it. But me personally, if you come to me as a producer, it's like you either better be on top of your game, or like you're just gonna sound like shit. It's just gonna be a shit album, and I probably won't even do it at the end of the day. So I don't know. Like when I say pristine record, I guess I mean something that's been gridded to a T, fucking perfect, and like maybe I don't know. I don't think I've achieved that yet.
To me, that sounds like an exercise in purity that might not necessarily translate to like the best.
I think you're right.
But I mean, like I think you would like feel good that you accomplished it, but then you'd be like, well, it's probably not my favorite thing I've worked on,
Yep, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Literally, I was talking to a buddy yesterday. He had sent me this old demo months ago, like, hey, do you want to work on this? And this thought occurred to me, like, wow, I haven't made like a nice, tight, clean, perfect record. And not to get me wrong, like there's some songs that I mixed that I'm very, very proud of, but they're not like when it could just be I'm too self-critical. I'll go listen and be like, oh, I could have tuned that note up one, or oh, I could have gridded that one thing. But it was this basic rock song that he sent. I'm like, oh, maybe I could just do this. But how much fun am I really gonna have doing it? Like, or will I be listening?
Fun
to
is the point. Fun is the point.
Fun is the point. But he's a really good friend, so I think just the fact that this is not going to be paid and it's going to be purely just creative and collaborative, I think I'll be able to make it fun while still trying to focus on making like a pristine record. Like I don't know, Breaking Benjamin or something. They have pretty tight albums, or those like rock bands who are, I don't even know what you would call them. I don't know. There's just a lot of bands out there where it's like snare sounds the same on every single hit, and everything's gridded, and it bores the hell out of me, dude. It just really does.
Ultimate like radio rock, like zero personality. It's such a put off. I mean, I don't know about you, but like when I was growing up, like it was often the case. There was a term that we used in high school for like when bands start to suck, and we'd call their albums overproduced. And that was like a lot of like, I guess it's a very like punk mindset, but it was really like egregious at the time, where it's just like, oh, it's got no like life in it, and they're like overproduced. And I just remember that being like thrown around a lot back then, as like derogatory to the
maybe it's the punk aspect in me that I just it's hard to like. But at the same time, I guess I'm also trying to look at it from like a business side, which is like, well, if I do want to keep getting better bands to produce, like I have to get better, and I have to like make, because
you want to demonstrate
records.
that I'm sorry, it's like you want to demonstrate you can do it, even though you wouldn't necessarily on your own music or something like
that. Exactly.
It's a tricky, it's tricky.
So did you like do you said you didn't mix a lot of bands, so like what happened after NYU then?
Well, I actually started at Criterion right after I finished.
Whoa.
It was I was like working with Ryan like on the timing, because I was just about to do my I think I actually might have started Criterion while I was doing my thesis. And or like while I was about to present. So I just got right into that like 9 to 5 pretty much.
Wow, dude, and then you are lucky.
Yes and no though. I mean, like I think it's cool. I mean, definitely like getting the job security as an engineer is like a fucking gift. But like I think like in retrospect, there's maybe like I think interning like you did probably would have been really nice, like at a studio, and like seeing like just kind of seeing like what's out there. Like I wouldn't trade the Criterion years for anything, but but at the end of my time in grad school, I was like my thesis was all about like geographic based like I made like a online DAW where you can set boundaries on Google Maps and upload audio to them.
No way.
And so you can create kind of like walking soundscapes, and there's like things like that out there, but this was just like one platform where you can just like make interactive sonic explorations. I did one around Union Square that was like really like doomy and intense, and you walk around and being like, it's so crowded. And then I was doing a lot of game audio by the end at Mutech, and like one of my best friends there went on to work for that company, and but like I have been such a film fanatic and like was such a Criterion fan for so long that like seeing that opening, I was just like, oh my god. And I was like, it was the difference between, you know, when you like apply for jobs and you're like, oh, it'd be cool if they hit me back, and I was like, there's no way I'm not getting this. There's no way. I'm gonna do everything in my power. And because I've got like Ingmar Bergman tattoos, like wow, like with some of the Swedish text of like a couple of his film titles on these images, and I ended up restoring those movies, which is so nuts.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And like I was like the biggest Bergman fan, and so like I mean it was pretty. I haven't really reflected on this in a while, but it was like super awesome being able to get that opportunity, and so in the meantime I was just sort of like dabbling on my own music, but it only like in the last maybe like year or two have I kind of gotten more serious, more like year or two have I gotten like a lot more serious about like trying to put out work, and around then I was like in this industrial band with my friend Chris, and like right when I started Criterion we did some shows in Germany, and he ended up moving there, and so I've sort of been like kind of all over the place with like recording.
So wait, when I joined, I guess you were coming back from Germany. Is that what that was for? Okay.
Yeah. There's some shows over there.
Nice.
Yeah, but
wow, international band.
yeah. It was a German label that was like putting our stuff out called Killy Kill, and those were very fun times. But yeah.
No, dude, Criterion's dope. I was very fortunate to find it. It's definitely all through Trevor. Trevor is the guy who
totally yeah
he had
talked
about it.
You were very. It was obviously you. You were in. You know what I mean?
No, well, I'm honored, man. Like Trevor had mentioned it so many times, and your guitarist says something, you just like whatever. Is
that the case?
No, Trevor, I'm just joking.
Oh, yeah. No.
But I remember for the longest time, I didn't know what he did. I was like, he'd mentioned it like 3 times, and my memory sucks, but like Criterion, like, okay, whatever. And then it must have been him who said, hey, are you still looking for work? Oh, yeah. And then he told me about the opportunity.
That's awesome.
So.
Yeah.
I guess the grass is always greener, right? Like, coming out of NYU right into job security is good. Yeah. But then you miss out the intern thing, and then when you're an intern, you're like, oh god, if I could just have some security.
Just get a fucking job. Yeah, right. No, it's true. I mean, it's like it's such a just a wild field to get into, and like I think like just by finding your place, you just go through so many things. You learn so many things you're never gonna use. Like I haven't really done any JavaScript recently, and I had a lot of help getting that going. Like, but and like the game audio thing is like it's so awesome using that, but it's like you don't really have the time. But yeah, you eventually sort of like find out what works for you, and like getting into restoration was such a nothing I expected, but like it's a fun gig. It's really interesting. Like being able to like watch these films and work on them is like, if only we had subtitles while we were
doing their audio.
That's the one thing.
Totally agree.
Yeah, no, I mean my French is not that good, and so going through those movies, it's like
it's actually funny. Criterion came at a time where I was actually heavily getting into film, so in a weird way it worked out at the right time. Trevor and I just like co-wrote and co-directed like a music video for the band.
Cool.
So
is that out?
No, not yet. Still putting on the final touches, if you will.
Nice.
So, it came around at the perfect time. And you're right. Like, the fact, if you are into film, this is such a great. I always saw it as like a great place to like learn about film from the best filmmakers.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know anything about film, so if I say best, I don't know if that's true, but I think they're pretty damn awesome. So
the ones that we're working, man. I mean, like Wong Kar-wai came into our office. And he had sunglasses on, and he was just like. And I was just like, dude, you're so cool. I want to faint. Like, he's so awesome. Like, I've met a lot of like heroes just being in that office. Like David Byrne coming through was like so crazy, and like working on the behind the scenes for True Stories, and
that's insane.
I guess it's the kind of a like really sad element of this is pathetic to even say. I mean, there's lots of sad elements about the quarantine, but not being in the office, it was like pretty great. Just being. Just around those people coming through, like my favorite thing was like when Daniel Lopatin, I think that's how you say his last name, from One O Tricks Point Never, he scored Good Time and Uncut Gems.
Oh wow!
And he came through, and I just was like, oh man, like I've been obsessed with his music. He's just such an incredible artist, and he like came and like kicked it with me in my office for a minute and saw that I had the cassette tape for the Alien 3 soundtrack, which I'm like, it's like one of my favorite like soundtracks because it's this guy Elliot Goldenthal, who he's like this amazing 90s composer. He did like, I think he got an Oscar for Frida, but he did like Heat.
Wow.
And that's what, and like Batman Forever and shit. And,
oh my God.
And Daniel's like, yo, you got like Elliot Goldenthal, dude, that guy. I think he was like in a scene. He's really cool, and he's like, and I think like Heat was a big inspiration for Good Time and Uncut Gems because I watched it after. And it's the best soundtrack. It's so cool. But
that's also true. Yeah, it's not just directors. You like film composers and stuff. I just did a. I think it was a sub for this guy. I'm not gonna get his name right, but Ryuichi
Sakamoto.
Oh my God,
he came through. He came through.
Dude.
I got a photo with him, and I'm so mad at myself because I giggled when he stood next to me, and I couldn't help it. I just went like, like they took the picture. I swear to God, he like moved like a centimeter to the right because he was just like, whoa. But yeah, he's
his scores are beautiful. Oh my God.
No, they're outstanding. The documentary about him is heartbreaking and incredible.
I gotta watch that then.
I just think it came out like last year. It's really good.
Yeah, so very, very grateful.
Totally.
And all right, so I'm so dying to get into The Last of Us 2. So let's.
Oh yeah, yes. Oh, we're just getting started.
Let's end this podcast with The Last of Us 2.
Right.
So wait, a couple of what's prefaces, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm not like a huge gamer. And
same.
like I play like a couple of games now and then.
Yeah.
I think like my favorite games of all time were definitely the first 3 Metal Gear Solid games.
Do you have you listened to Burial before?
Burial?
Yeah. Do you know that artist? He's like a British electronic-ish artist.
Oh wait, okay, no.
He's really amazing, and he sampled a lot of those records from Metal Gear Solid. Yeah.
No, then I have to.
You can. I think you'd like it. It's really interesting, even if you're not like crazy about techno-y stuff. But it's really cool.
Oh, dude, I love the scores on those first 3.
It's yeah,
really good stuff. Awesome. Especially like the third one was really interesting. The whole.
I never played the third one.
I think the third one's probably one of the best in terms of storytelling. It's a simple story. It's deceptively simple. It's a simple story, and the score is really interesting. It's the same guy who did the composition for the second one, Greg Harrison, something like that. And he told Hideo Kojima, like, I'm not going to do any more Metal Gear because I already did it. Yeah. Unless you go somewhere far out of left field and do something in the jungle. And Hideo Kojima was like, actually, 3 is based in the jungle.
As a matter of fact.
So he was like, okay, I'll do it. And the soundscapes are pretty interesting. I do like what he does in 3.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm not a big gamer. Still play a lot of games. I did enjoy The Last of Us 1. Like, I thought that was a really well-told story. I wasn't, like, unbelievably in love with the game, like, from a narrative point of view. I thought it was really interesting. I thought the acting was, like, just top-notch.
For game standards, yeah.
Oh, my God, yes. And I thought the story was cool because it kind of left with this question of, like, Like, it wasn't like this is the right thing to do, that's the wrong thing to do. It was just like well, what would you do? Like, it was a very good question it ended it on. So I did actually like that game. And I just noticed my mic
has been drooping. Sorry, I'm just gonna.
That's all good. And the thing that I loved the most about The Last of Us 1 and 2, for that matter, is the game mechanics. Because I don't play a lot of games, when I play a game with mechanics that are so fluid like this, I was like, wow, this is what gaming is these days? I love it. This is amazing. And the graphics and just the amount of detail and like the acting, I love all of that. Last of Us 2, I did get a lot of the, like the graphics and stuff were really good, and the acting was always top notch and whatever. I guess like my only issue was just with the story. I just didn't feel as moved and captivated by it as the first one.
Right.
Well, what was your feeling on it then?
Well,
you said
preface, you loved it. But here's the thing. Like, I also am not a big gamer, and the first we had a PS3 in the tech trash at work, and I was like, I guess now's as good a time as ever to pick it up, and and I like played like a couple games, and then when I got that, I was just like, oh, this is what video games are like now. Like, because I think the last game I played before was like the fourth Silent Hill game in 2006.
Oh, so you were away for a while, yeah.
I was away for a long time, and then when I played through, I was just like, every second, I'm like, this is crazy. Yeah. It was like almost overwhelming, and like I thought the ending, like I thought I got the bad ending, I was like, what did I do? Like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, why can't we save the world? And that sucked, but and it just like really, really got to me. And like I always say to people, like, it's not lost on me that it's like just a fucking episode of Walking Dead. Like, it's not like it's like totally new terrain, like story wise, or even like as good as the acting is, like compared to like Resident Evil, where it's just like, Leon, I'm going to the sewer, and it's like, just so extra hammed up. Yeah. But like, it got me, and all the little moments that are supposed to get you, I'm like, oh man, it's just getting like the giraffes and shit, and like, and I just like, my favorite thing about games is creature design, for sure. Like, and I like thought that they did a good job of like, kind of using that parasitic fungus that takes over ants and makes them like commands them to, create a contagion
as
for the rest
model
of them.
For the clickers. Yeah.
It's a really cool idea, and the clickers just like look really awesome. And I know like one of the big inspirations for the game was the raptor scene in Jurassic Park. Where they're like, the kids are hiding from the raptors, and I think that his name's David, and you're playing as Ellie in the first one, and you're like hiding in the kitchen trying to get the jump on him, and that is like directly supposed to be like the raptor scene. And so they talk about Jurassic Park in the second one.
Yes.
When they go to the museum, and I think they're just like paying tribute. And I love how they're like the second.
I will say that that whole sequence was pretty emotional. That was really nice.
That got me. Yeah, I was playing with Jules, in,
like, space shuttle and stuff.
That was sweet. Yeah, no, I think that for whatever reason, what they did with the plot, maybe I'm a sap, but it just like resonated with me. Like, and I like after I beat it, I was like driving upstate with Julia, who says hi, by the way. And and I was describing to her the ending, and she's been hearing all about it and watching me play forever. And as I'm describing it, I start choking up, and then she's choking up, and we're just like, because it's just like, the like, I don't know if. But yeah,
so my thing was like, there's definitely some hard hitting moments in it that I did enjoy. Like, I think the space shuttle scene was actually one of the strongest scenes.
Totally, yeah.
But like a couple of things, it just. Sometimes, I don't know if I'm even going to say it right, but there's something about it that really just didn't land the same way that the first one did, or I don't even want to
take it across the line.
Yeah, Well, I don't know. There's just something that didn't land in terms of just the storytelling aspect of it. I don't even want to compare it to the first one because I know that's like a dangerous thing to do. But like, there's something about it that didn't. It felt a little confusing to me in certain aspects. Like I kind of saw what they were trying to do. Like, okay, yes, you play as the other person. You're supposed to develop empathy for this person, and revenge is bad. Yeah, I got all like those subtext cues. I just think that I guess I was expecting some bigger revelation that never happened. There was a couple of times where the screen fades to black, and I thought, "Is that the ending? That's it?" And like
I thought that too.
It happened a couple of times near the end, and like, but that's weird. I mean, whenever I play like a good solid game, like I know that.
That's interesting you say that, like, because there's let's just spoilers, right? Like. Huh? You can just spoilers.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay. We're past that. All right. So when you like go to the farmhouse and after the big Abby Ellie fight, like, well, let me say two things. Like, first of all, like I feel like I know what you mean, and I feel like it's not like a new plot because I feel like they just did what Pulp Fiction did essentially, right?
Right. That's what I heard. Yeah.
And but yeah, like I thought that it was done when you go to that farmhouse. With like when Ellie blah blah blah, and then I think there was this multiple times that I also was like, and when you're going to the aquarium on the boat, I'm like, oh, is this it? Because it's such a long game, so you like wouldn't put it past them, and it's so detailed and big. So
yeah.
But I thought by the time the ending came, it really felt done, and I think like the negative reviews seem to have died down, where everyone was like, F this game, it's total trash.
I think a lot of people felt that way because they killed Joel off so fast.
Yeah,
which actually didn't bother me at all. Like I thought,
me neither.
I thought that was a really it sucked, but I think it was a very bold narrative move. I think that was good for them to do. I don't know if they did it the right way. I've heard like a lot of theories on people's end where it was like Joel would have never trusted these people. I mean, I'm not that much into the game to make those kinds of calls. But just the concept of killing the main character of the first one, I thought that was a awesome, bold move on their end.
I know, I'm like into that, and it drives the whole thing. So I mean, like,
but I guess like what kind of confused me was as the story progressed, I started to like Ellie less and less because she became really obsessed with this whole revenge thing, and then when you play as Abby, it almost felt like they were trying a little too hard to make me feel empathetic towards her, even though I understand that was the goal. I get it.
Right. Yeah.
It just felt a little forced. I will say I do like it when games make you uncomfortable. I think that's kind of a really cool thing. So the Joel death is one thing, but the other side of it was like when you're playing as Ellie or Abby and beating the hell out of the other person, it's like, oh man, I was just playing as this person. I can't.
I know. I hated it. I died every time that it said like strike, and I'm like, no. And then she's like
is there like a way? Is there like an alternate ending?
Yeah.
Like I can
what if I push circle? Like what if I yeah, no, there's no way out, and you just have to do it. And like
that was
they did that a couple
last
times.
fight was brutal, man. I didn't know how to feel about it.
I know.
While I was doing it, I felt like sick. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm beating the hell out of this poor woman.
Me too. I thought that was nuts. And like I really thought she was gonna end it.
Yeah.
And then the flash of Joel on the porch, like, dude, I swear to God, I feel it. Like
really, that did not land. That didn't land with me at all.
Oh, it killed me.
I feel like I don't know if you're into anime at all, but there's like a lot of these. There's some cool anime out there that have explored these kind of territories of revenge and cycle of pain and you know, empathy and all that. And it could just be that, like, I don't know, maybe I've already experienced that to such a high level in storytelling from those guys. So when I saw this, it was like, I get what you were trying to do, but I feel like there's like a lot of gaps that could have helped, like, leading up to that revelation. There's something about it that didn't land. That's what it was. It felt like there was like a lot of missing pieces for me when they showed that flashback. I know what they were trying to do, and I can fill it in myself, but I don't want that. I want the story to kind of
give it to you, like give you the experience.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. I think, I think it also was such a long time from the beginning of the game, because I like started it over a little after, and it just like I think that so much happens between that first scene when you're like in there in Jackson, and that last bit, that you sort of lose touch with like the fact that like Ellie was gonna see a movie with Joel, and like a lot of that early conversation. Right. And so I think like they do space it out. Maybe this isn't what you're talking about, but I felt like But
even in terms of like, I guess even in terms of like, I'm not sure. I guess what they were trying to do at the end, where Ellie didn't kill Abby, I guess they were trying to like, there were a couple of things they could have been going for. Either like Ellie's trying to reconnect with her more compassionate side, because she definitely started to steer way off that path.
Yeah, murdering a pregnant girl.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like she was way off.
Yeah, right.
So it could be that, you know, the image of Joel has kind of like given her like a sense of like Joel and Ellie, kind of like Abby and Lev. Maybe there was some sort of thing like that. Maybe they were going for a whole cycle of pain, you know, if you just kill this person, well, Lev's going to eventually come back, or blah, blah, blah.
I think that's part of it, definitely.
But that's I guess that's the problem. Like, this is all me coming up and trying to fill in the gaps, and I wish they had just been more explicit about that. Because I know, like, dude, you should play... the one game that I did cry for, like tears, was Metal Gear Solid 3.
Really? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I was super invested in like Metal Gear Solid, and I remember like one of the craziest feelings I had playing any game was in Metal Gear Solid 2 when your codec starts to glitch out.
Oh, I love that!
What the fuck? That was it was so nuts. And I just remember being like, this is like unsafe. Like, dude, what's happening? Yeah.
I turned the console off.
Yeah, right. Oh, I forgot about that. Wow. Yeah.
Dude, that was really one of the best moments. Like, I love that game so much because the ending just fucks with you so much. Like, what's going on? Like, is any of this real? Like, you should. I don't know if you've. I don't know how much you research these games, but there's a guy on YouTube called Super Bunny Hop, and he did like a 45-minute like breakdown of Metal Gear Solid 2. Yeah, really fascinating stuff. I highly recommend you watch it.
Okay, cool.
Like,
I'll check it out. I think I want to get the third one's called Snake Eater, right? Is that okay? Cool. Dude, yeah. I think I should check it.
That's not as complicated and like, you know, all weirded out as 2, which I think is still one of the best. Yeah. But it's a simple story, but if you're going for just tight narrative, man, that got me. That got me.
Cool. All right. Right on. I'll hit it. Yeah. No, I think that Last of Us really just sorry, I got a weird text. I think it just like I just feel like the accomplishment of that game has been like moderately paid attention to, but like I've never seen anything like it, and I always wonder for the people that hate it, like what else is this good? Like, I would love to know, because I'll definitely like play the shit out of those games, but like I wasn't a fan of Uncharted. Like I just couldn't vibe on that like Hollywood action. And like I said, like creature design is like super important to me, so that's why I always liked Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and all that spooky stuff. But
I think people's biggest criticism of The Last of Us 2, and I've watched videos for people who love it and people who hate it. Like, I love to do that, but I think the biggest criticism was obviously the whole Joel death, because people fell in love with Joel, man.
That just means you like it.
Yeah,
like, that just means you love it.
Like, and I love. Oh my god, I love it when writers and directors do something you don't expect. When it's done right, it can be one of the most powerful tools in the story. But I think another thing that a lot of people had an issue with was there's something about it is a long game, so it is hard, but I think a lot of people hated Abby so much that they dreaded the fact that I have to play as this woman for the next 10 hours. And there's also a bit of that, and I felt it too, there was a bit of that like, you're trying to push her a little bit too hard on me. Like, the dog scene where she's playing with the dog and that as Ellie, you kill the dog in cold blood.
That was so...
It's like, okay, you're making me feel really bad right now.
So manipulative. But, like, yeah.
That might have been it. Maybe, like, little things like that. And, like, little gaps in the narrative. And then at the end, when she didn't kill Abby, which I really thought that's how it was going to end.
Yeah.
And Lev was just going to lay there and just be alone and wake up to find Abby. But I think the fact that she didn't kill Abby just because she saw a glimpse of Joel. What people are saying is that, well, she just killed like hundreds and hundreds of people to get to Abby. Yeah. So why would you stop? Like, Abby didn't hesitate when she killed Jesse and almost killed Tommy. How he survived, no idea.
Right, I know.
His eye.
How did he walk back to Wyoming from Seattle with like lots of holes in his body? Right on.
So I think there was something about their narrative that was just not as fulfilling. And I don't even want to say that, because I like it when directors and writers push the idea of what a narrative can actually be. Like, I don't want to see the same old Hollywood thing over and over again. Yeah. But I think there was something about it that didn't land. And the thing is, it's funny we talk about Metal Gear Solid. When Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, people hated it, bro.
They did, didn't they?
You had to play as Raiden for like the majority of the game.
Right. Same shit.
So it's so interesting.
Yeah, I don't, and like over time now, that's an obvious classic. But yeah, for me, I think like, I thought that she was going to kill Abby, but I think it would have made less sense if she did. And I think it's just, I guess, your perspective of it. But like, I think that, like, I didn't even think about Lev so much in that scene. It was just more like the exhaustion and just her just being like, kind of, I don't know. Sometimes I guess you have to just come up to the line to really get clarity on like your actions, And I felt like that kind of came through in a cool way, because she got the flash of Joel dying to initiate the rage, and then the flash of him alive like brought her back, and it's just like, I feel like it was this, and I think the same. I kind of think they had you where they wanted you with, like, it's the same thing where you like have to hit that conflict of like, you have to hit the square button. It's like, you as a gamer feel that, I guess, because you played as Abby, but like knowing what you did as Ellie, I think like, I bet they're trying to make it be, they're trying to emote that she's feeling the same conflicts as you as the gamer, and that you're more in line. And then so when you like finally are confronted, you're just like, oh, like, what is this? Like, and then when you like see that scene and how she was about to start over, and that's why she was so angry, start over with the relationship with Joel. I thought it just put this dull ache in you where you're just like, well, now you got nothing. And then I think she like maybe acknowledged her like, adding a net negative to everyone's life and sort of putting into frame. I don't know. For me, though, like,
I didn't get that.
Yeah.
But that is interesting. I see what you're saying. Yeah, it was cool when she went back home and Dino's gone. Everybody was gone.
Yeah, totally brutal.
That was rough.
And when you pick up the guitar.
Bro.
Drag. Yeah, that was so sad.
That was rough.
She does her little modification on the thing to play the Pearl Jam song.
That was good. I did enjoy that. Yeah. Like that was a cool message. Like, you go on this whole war path, and like, what do you have left to show for it?
Right.
Like I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. It was really anime like, actually, now that you mention it.
Yeah.
Because she's like this like Ronin character. And, you know what I mean?
It was definitely influence. I felt some influence from anime, but also even Metal Gear Solid. I can't specify where, but I definitely got some vibes at some point. So it was an interesting game. Like I said, I told you this to you when I first got it. Like, I'm so glad I bought it and played it. Like, it was definitely worth the experience, in my opinion.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, it's just fun. Watching the aggressive gameplay videos on YouTube, those are psycho.
It's a fun game. Mechanics are great. Graphics are great. And as far as, I guess, like, just from a narrative standpoint, I just wouldn't put it in my like top whatever.
Yeah.
I would definitely put The Last of Us pretty high. It's pretty good. But I don't know. I feel like there's some anime that I watched and like even Metal Gear Solid that was just like, just front to back, it was just the flow. Even though they have like these plot twists and just changing perspectives and all that, there was just they had like a flow to them that I didn't feel from this. And it could just be I'm getting older and just not whatever.
Desensitized.
Dude. Yeah, it's just like
been in
life
that shit
is
too
rough,
long.
bro.
Yeah, right. For sure.
Could just be that.
I really want to play 3 now, Metal Gear Solid 3. I want to.
Oh, dude, you should.
Yeah, I've been like, I got a PS2 recently, so I could play Silent Hill 2 because I never played it back in the day, even though it's supposed to be the best one.
Wow.
Super cool game. That
I don't know you can even get a PS2 at this point.
Yeah, man. I got it on eBay for some, I don't know, weird amount of money.
$20.
$20, yeah, right. And then there's this like awesome game store in Bushwick. They found like a batch of all these old games that were sealed, and they were selling off the Silent Hill. So I was like, shit. And
wow.
That's my favorite music in any game. Is
Silent Hill?
Yeah, because they're trying to do. It's this guy Akira Yamaoka, and he's really like trying to do a lot of the like Twin Peaks stuff, but then he uses these like really early like serum pads that sound like drum and bass pads that are like just wild, and then mixed with like really crazy noise industrial. It's like perfect soundtrack.
Who did Twin Peaks?
I can't remember his name. It kills me.
Yeah.
He's so great.
I was just thinking about that the other day. It's funny you mention it.
Oh, Angelo Badalamenti. Badalamenti, yeah. Yeah, he's great. Yeah. Working on Firewalk with me was like one of my favorite Criterion movies.
Nice. Dude, I mean, I can't believe that what's it called? The Big Boss by Bruce Lee Big Boss was like the first thing. Like I was when Ryan gave it to me. Yeah, when Ryan gave it to me, I was like, "Are you sure? I just joined. I don't know if I can do this."
Yeah. Are you sure? Yeah, man.
Dude, I was so nervous because like, and I went hard. I went so hard on like I go hard on all my pieces, but like I went extra hard on like that one because I was a huge Bruce Lee fan. I was like,
that's awesome. What a good time to come in then.
Yeah,
you got your fill, right?
So surreal, man. I used to copy this dude, like all his moves and everything when I was a kid.
Oh, nice. That's so cool. What's your favorite thing you've worked on, you think? Big Boss?
Favorite. That would definitely be the biggest, like the most surreal moment for me was the Big Boss. Yeah. Because, like, I watched those when I was like 8, 9.
Oh, cool.
I know. I was way too young to be watching those kinds of movies, but like, I used to watch them, and like, I used to be into karate and stuff, and like, I would copy him, nice. and so to just like 21 years later, to be like still trying to preserve that legacy of such a like martial artist, I was like, oh shit, that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
What else did I have fun on? I had fun on a lot of the channel pieces. I actually really enjoy like the talking head stuff because just listening to people talk about the inside perspective of why they frame things a certain way or like why they it's really fascinating. Like now that I'm getting into film, like oh my god, dude, like listening to Martin Scorsese talk is just interesting.
Oh yeah, he's great.
He's just interesting, like the way he thinks
his round
about
tables.
Things. Yeah,
for sure.
So there's a lot. This has been a very great learning experience.
Cool.
For sure.
That's awesome.
Cool. So, do you want to wrap it up? Oh, wow.
Yeah, man.
It's a good 1 hour 45, dude.
Oh, word. All right. Cool. First real podcast.
Thank you for coming on, dude. I appreciate
thanks for having
me.
This is super fun.